Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, it's the start of the second quarter 2023, but before we look forward, let's take a moment and look back at the progress and the achievement of Tesla in the first quarter. As you can see by this image here, outstanding results. Nearly 441,000 produced vehicles in the quarter and almost 423,000 delivered this quarter, which are both records all time regardless of which quarter. So congratulations to Tesla, congratulations to all of the Tesla employees, and of course here at Giga-Texas, all of the contractors and everybody else that have made this factory an amazing achievement and to make these milestones happen. Also here at Giga-Texas, as you can see here, another milestone has been reached. They've now achieved 4,000 Model Ys produced per week, which is outstanding. And you know, from what I can see here on the side, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe there's a little bit more than that going on as well. But nevertheless, a great milestone. So congratulations to Tesla and everybody here at Giga-Texas. Outstanding. So a few things for the intro today that I want to highlight that you'll see in the video. First, as you can see in this image, we start on the west side of the highway over in what is termed the West Support Facility per the permit. Now they've already installed a contractor parking area. They also have the West Warehouse on Wheels expansion area. But as you can see here, a much larger section is now being earthworked and having the hills, the last of the hills here removed. The ponds are being filled in, and this entire area is being prepared for most likely an expansion of the warehouse on wheels on this side. So it wouldn't surprise me if at some point we see this all graded out and have gravel mix on it, and we'll see all the trailers moved over here from the east side. So pretty cool. Moving across the highway to the south end, as you can see here, a lot of interesting developments and activity. First, a second crane is being assembled here, and both of these are going to support the pier drilling operations. And those are going to be deep piers that are reinforced with rebar and concrete, and this will be supporting eventually the footings that will support the new structure. So great to see this progress. Also nearby, as you can see here, they've removed the final old steel corrugated pipes that were part of the original stormwater management system that ran through the middle of this overall clearing and where the construction is going to be. Now this had to happen to allow the construction because these corrugated pipes are really not suitable to run underneath a structure. So with the bypass completed, these pipes removed, this is a great sign. There's a lot of other very interesting developments that you'll see in the video, and I'll narrate your way through, and I'll leave those discussions in the video. So make sure you take a look at the entire thing. Appreciate all the support as always. Again, congratulations to Tesla and also to Giga-Texas, and have a great week. Take care.
A special thank you to all of my outstanding Patreons for your continued encouragement and support. Patreon members get access to hundreds of high-resolution photos, previews of the future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my channel, please consider becoming a patron using this link, which is also in the video description. Please also consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. This morning we start off on a kind of dark and a little bit gloomy, hazy, low cloud day, but a lot to see. And we're here on the far southwest corner flying over the relatively new contractor parking lot. You can see how well used it has been by some of the markings over the last few months. But I wanted to show you this new earthworking section. It's kind of between the housing complex just to the left of the screen and the highway. And what they're doing is they are removing the ponds and hills in this area and preparing to improve the grade and get everything level here for another round of construction. Now this entire section is permitted as the West Support Facility, and what it looks like to me is the crews are getting ready to expand this West Warehouse on Wheels. That's with all of the trailers that you can see in the upper right hand corner of the video. And this whole area eventually will most likely have lots of these trailers, which are used essentially for just-in-time, but also temporary warehousing of parts necessary for the production of the Model Ys and future, the Cybertruck. But as I fly around this section, you can get a good sense of the amount of earthwork that is going on all over this western portion of this West Support Facility construction site. And also, as I turn back towards the south, it'll give you a good view of just how wide this area has become or will become once it is completed and all of these hills are removed and the whole area is flattened out. As you can see, this would be an expansion that is at least double what has already been installed here on the left-hand side of the screen with all of the trailers and some of the material staging. As we fly over this debris, this is some of the shrubs and trees that were removed from that earthworking area. And also this is the last remaining material storage on this side. It used to be this entire length of this graveled section, but now most of it is the Warehouse on Wheels trailer yard. But this is a good view of the amount of material, some of the steel beams, and a lot of trailers that are stored on this side in addition to some other steel parts. So I'm going to fly back towards the main building and prepare to fly over the road, and we'll resume on the other side of this central highway. There's a lot of activity here on the west side. We're flying over where new trees have been planted in that earthworked section, and some of the plumbing has been completed. I want to show you this. The landscape section here is where they did the photo of all the employees for the milestone of 4,000 vehicles per week produced. And this gives you a really good idea of where this is located in relation to that west main entrance. Those concrete items that look kind of like trapezoids here at the bottom of the screen, I've had a lot of viewers think that these are actually benches, and we'll see these installed around the main entrance. I don't know about that, but it's an interesting idea, so I thought I would pass it along. Here's a good close-in view of that west main entrance. You can see how they have removed some of the materials and the gravel that was used for Investors Day. They've been doing some excavation, some pipe work. Looks like some vegetation in concrete planters near the road, and also just general preparing for future construction here. You can see at the base of each of these cyber berms kind of those wood panels over holes in the ground. Those might be light posts that we'll see eventually. You can see the trees here in the concrete planters that have been added here, and we'll see more of those around the site. And I also wanted to give you a good view here. This is more of the NACA crews, the company that is putting the white stain on the building. What they are doing here is pressure washing the bare concrete to prepare for that stain application. And as you can see, they're very close to where the windows start to widen out. So it'll be great to see what that looks like when it has all of the stain installed. As we continue to fly down the west side towards the south, there's a number of new developments that I want to show you. First of all, just overall how this south end appears next to the building, all the way across where they've removed quite a bit of the underground materials to prepare for construction. You can see that black kind of tank, that's that groundwater system that's installed, and that'll eventually be lowered down to the grade of this new construction site. And also here we see a lot of the parts for both of these cranes. There's a new crane getting ready to be installed, or at least assembled, and these are going to be used to drill the deep piers that will be reinforced with rebar and concrete. You actually see some of the rebar at the bottom of the screen laid out, and some of the bent pieces or circular pieces in those white, look like large bags. And it looks like this crane is being used to set up the second crane. And the fact that there's two of these cranes is a great indication that the speed of pile drilling here will be significantly increased and accelerated rather than just having the one crane. So I think that's a great sign. As I pull further back, I'll give you a good overall view of the south end. One of the things that you'll note is all of those very large steel corrugated pipes that were part of the original underground water management system have been removed, and I'll give you a closer view of that a little later in this video. But this is a great overall view of the south end right now and how it looks just ahead of the beginning of construction. I'll bring the drone down here on the south side of the cyber pond just to give you an idea of how the material staging location appears today. We see some, what looks like maybe some concrete sections on the bottom there. These trailers have more of the rebar that will be used possibly for the piers. And we also see some concrete manhole covers on the left-hand side of the screen as well. As I proceed towards this side of the south end construction site, I'll start panning back towards the main building. We see some concrete pipe segments on the right-hand side of the screen. Several more of the excavators removing the last parts of the underground system that was originally located here. A delivery truck with some interesting crates, and I'll give you a closer view of that in just a few minutes. And here is the closer look at the pipes that have been removed. The trench where they are now filling it back in is where these pipes were originally installed. And as we've talked before, these pipes have to be removed because they are not load bearing and it will not support the weight of the structure that will be constructed on this side of the building. And you can see the assembly of the crane on the left-hand side as well. On the base of the wall, you can see the last remaining portions of the conduit for the superchargers are being removed on that angled corner. And as we fly over this trench where we see dump trucks bringing dirt to fill it in, we can also see some of the activity in and around this south loading platform, which is still here despite the construction that's getting ready to happen. As I mentioned, here's a closer view of this truck with these crates being delivered. I believe this is more of the parts that are needed for the metal forming machines and or also for production line assembly. In either case, it's a great sign that the preparations for the Cybertruck production line are coming along really well. And recently, Elon even posted a tweet about him touring the Cybertruck production line, which is on the southwest part of this end of the building. There's more of these blue wrapped items waiting for movement inside stamping 2. That's where we've seen in my previous video the work on the concrete slab and the underground concrete foundations, and that's for that equipment as well. I'll get a little bit higher and we'll pass over the power lines. I'll turn the drone back and give you a good overall view of the south end from this vantage point. On the left of the screen, you see that white Model Y that just exited the building. That's the new exit point for General Assembly once the vehicles are ready to depart the factory. On the left, you see more Model Ys lined up. They've been doing that recently, and those are done before they move over to this new vehicle calibration and testing lot with that test track at the bottom of the screen. As we continue to maneuver towards the east, I will turn back towards the new car calibration and testing lot over the helicopter pad. And you can also see that green trailer next to that white trailer with the funnel. This is that kind of like a wind tunnel that is used to test out the vehicles for any air and or water leaks. And as I turn back towards it, I'll give you a good view of how it looks today. The turntable on this end is to allow the vehicle to have different angles to the oncoming air. That green trailer is also a generator to power that facility. As we come up to the traffic circle, just note that more of the landscaping has been completed, and it looks like crews are working possibly for some lighting. As we get to here, this receiving dock section, you can see that trench work is continuing for some more of the plumbing next to that small retaining wall. So still some work to be done before we see concrete there. As I turn back towards this parking lot, you can see the superchargers and the canopy on the right-hand side of the screen. And I want to come up over the trees to show you that this dirt storage location, and also where some dirt is excavated and used for other construction sites around Giga-Texas, is active again today. It looks like they're digging a pretty good trench here, and the dirt's being loaded up. Most of this dirt's going on the south side where they're filling in the trenches where the pipes were removed. You can see this tree-lined avenue that connects these two clearing locations, and this is the new construction site and possibly foundation that is really starting to take form. You can see the final gravel mix is being spread now on the prepared grade, and this would indicate that we may start seeing either use of this facility or beginning of construction here. I'm not sure exactly which yet, but it's something I'll monitor. You can see the superchargers here at the bottom of the screen. That's what was moved from the south end. And I'm going to proceed to the far east over these trailers, some workshops, some materials, and also where all of the contractor trailers are housed. And these are the main contractors that are working on the construction of Giga-Texas. The reason why I'm coming over here is I want to show you the site where many of the wooden crates that bring production equipment, also some for batteries that were shipped out here, are broken down and recycled. And nearby, you can also see this mound of Model Y bodies. This is where either tested or reject bodies are broken down and prepared for recycling. We're going to fly over this section of the construction site, over the essentially this kitchen or food preparation section with these trailers and all the coolers on the roof, to give you a good view of the battery cathode plant and the activity here today. As we drop down on this east side, you can tell that the trapezoidal concrete section is still waiting for equipment to be delivered and installed inside. As we get towards the midpoint of the building, I'll give you some views into this section. What you'll see is a lot of platforms continue to be installed, some of the stainless steel tanks on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side on the ground are SACME presses, and you can see that the platform has now reached the fourth and final story, and they're continuing to install some of the platform components and some equipment there as well. As we turn back towards the north, we'll fly over the cell test lab, where it looks like more work is going on inside to complete the fit out of that particular building. As I climb up altitude over this north clearing, one of the things I want to show you is on the right upper side, you can see the equipment rental lot, and also where some of the concrete sections from the south are stored. And this large rectangular lot is what's permitted as the North Logistics lot, and this will also have, according to the permit, a warehouse at some point in the future. As I turn back towards the battery cathode plant, this gives you a good view of the materials, some of the concrete panels, some workshops, and how this area on the north end appears. You can also see how the battery cathode plant on the left and the large die shop are really taking shape now. The large tanks at the bottom of the screen, I believe, are going to be moved into the die shop, but I'm waiting to verify that. On the left-hand side, you can see the temporary structure with equipment that's being temporarily stored here until moved inside. Also, we see both of the temporary platforms now have been removed, and a good view into these sections, and this may indicate wall panel installation may soon arrive. As we continue to progress towards the galvanized steel structure, you can see my viewer Ed Foster has said that this is really a refrigeration system for the cathode plant with a secondary and primary chiller loop, and the Evapco condensers and fan units will be for the refrigerant, and that'll be mounted on the roof section. So thanks a lot, Ed, for that information. As we look back at the die shop, we can see how the wall panel installation on the east and the north side continues to progress, and also just how this end of the building appears. And I'm going to get the drone positioned so that you can see into the construction site of this deep and heavily reinforced foundation with all of these forms. You can see that crews are continuing to add more rebar now. Looks like the gray conduit has been finalized for the installation as well. And generally just how this section appears, the workers give you a good idea of the scale of that particular foundation. I'm going to continue to fly around this corner of the structure, and I'm going to reposition the drone to give you a different view with a zoom inside of the work that's going on for this particular foundation. There's a similar one on the right-hand side of the screen, but it's not as deep. But I think this is a really good view of how the work and the progress is continuing on this foundation. As I pan the drone a little towards the south, you can see this next reinforced section, but it looks like it will be not as deep of a pier or a piered foundation. We also see on the base of the columns more of the perimeter grade beam forms have been installed all along that length, and it has rebar, so we should see some concrete poured soon. On the south end of the building, we see these dual trenches with more of the electrical conduit, and nearby we also see the 4 concrete sections with the vaults for conduit, and we can see on the building the perimeter grade beam on the south end on both corners has now been poured, and the concrete is in the curing process. Here's a better view of those 4 vaults with the conduit on the left hand side of the screen. As we proceed through the alleyway between the 2 structures, you see the concrete vaults on the bottom with more conduit, and also a good view of how the wall installation has progressed on this side of the structure and overall how it appears. So let's fly over the Martin Marietta concrete batch plant and position our drone to take a look at the electrical switchyard and the progress there today. On this north end, we see more of the utility trucks and crews lining and installing the wires that will run from these steel poles over to the electrical switchyard. We also see some trenching work for those steel corrugated pipes for the north portion of the switchyard's underground water stormwater management system. I mentioned in my previous video that with all the wires being installed, we may see soon electricity installed for testing. Some of my viewers have said what the first indication will be is when they erect the fence around this section. Once the fence is in, then we know that they'll be ready to test some of the electrical systems. So right now, that milestone is something I'll be watching for, is fence installation. On the south end, we see the concrete wall between these 2 transformers appears to be nearly completed, and many viewers have pointed out that this wall is necessary as it serves as an emergency barrier in case one or the other of these transformers were to have an emergency situation and have a problem that erupts that may affect the other one. So that's the purpose of that brick concrete wall. This is a good higher altitude view of that entire south section and how it appears today. As we fly back over the power lines, I'm showing you the continued progress here on the future Megapack battery electric storage system construction site. You can see how the grade work here has really progressed and changed this once triangular section into a rectangular section, and also this south end area with the gravel has been installed as well. We'll most likely see more of the gravel installed on the northern portion in a couple of weeks. As we get ready to cross over Tesla Road, I'll show you another section of blue water pipe installation, this time on the west side of the power lines. Here's a good view into the trench so you can get an idea of the pipe being installed. This is all part of connecting the water main over to the battery cathode plant and the die shop structures. As I come to the northeast corner of the casting machine structure, you can see another large delivery on this truck, and fortunately they've removed the covers so we can see that they are platform parts, most likely related to the Giga presses. We also see some very nicely stacked castings on this side of the building now, so these may actually be for production rather than for recycling as we normally see. As we fly along the north end of the building, again, you can see that most of the materials on the ground have been cleared up, and this whole area just appears very neat and orderly now, so it would signal that most of the construction in the inside for right now is completed. And on the northwest corner, we can see how these cooling enclosures on the left with the temporary tops and the vents appear today. So that'll be it for this first day of my videos on April, on a milestone day and some great accomplishments by Tesla and also Giga-Texas. So congratulations to the Tesla and Giga-Texas teams. Thank you very much for watching and have a great rest of the week.